Eduardo, welcome to Floor Talk. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Eduardo, Argentina has entered a new positive market cycle. So tell me, how do you see it and how will IRSA take advantage of it?
I believe Argentina has been through the biggest change we ever dreamed. We've been in a model that was printing money and issuing Argentinian pesos with high inflation. We have more inflation years and more deficit years in the last century in average than any other country. So we know how painful is that. But we have one full year of fiscal equilibrium, which for us is a surprise. And when the government stops taking all the liquidity into the state economy, the liquidity is coming into the companies. And I'm surprised to see how first the companies could issue again bonds. And since we've been listed here in the new stock market, which is 30 years this week, we have been doing transactions for more than 18 billion, hundreds of transactions. So all the companies of us have the big benefit of being listed in Argentina and also here. But in terms of this new economy, I would say that if the equilibrium fiscal continues and they keep not printing money, I think many of the Argentinian money that has been saved outside Argentina will slowly, not suddenly, but slowly come back. And in our business, that's very important because the relation of real estate is income of the people and access to credit. And the most of the years that we have, most of the people have no access because most of the deposits of Argentinians were in dollars outside Argentina. So I think that two elements, income growing in dollar terms and access to credit growing, will make development of our business in a very interesting way for the next years to come. I would say the next decade will be a very strong market for real estate.
And how is the real estate market evolving in Argentina? And now that the country is controlling inflation and FX and launching new mortgages, how will this impact the sector?
I think that all the measures that they're taking are impacting. First, there's more liquidity. You see the amounts of deeds taking place every month are growing, and the more they grow, the more with credit. So I would say that the prices we are used to know in Argentina are most of the transactions are paid 100% in cash. That means that for the last 2 decades, people have no access to mortgage, and the total mortgage market to GDP is 0.5, which I would say is the lowest in the whole continent. And the reason of that is because there was a lot of regulation. People could not take a loan in dollars. They all have dollars, but they cannot take a loan in dollars. And the peso related were so high because of the inflation. I think that the two elements of reducing inflation will be accessible to mortgages in peso, which are going to be done with the UBA, which is a kind of adjusted inflation currency that will be taking place. And that's the majority of the mortgages taking place today. But I would not be surprised if they also give mortgages in dollars in the near future. And that will make the market much more liquid. And I'm sure that it will start first with liquidity. And of course, the prices are getting stronger. The prices of the sales that we have in the last decade were all pay 100% cash in the day of the transaction, which is not the common way to do it all over the world.
Tell me about the company's future developments, especially the project in Puerto Madero, Ramblas del Plata. Give me a little bit of color on this project.
We were the major developer in Puerto Madero. Puerto Madero started in '94. At the time we got the listing here in December 30 years ago, Madero was starting. The first opening in Madero was in '94 at the end. We did an opening with the President Carlos Menem. And since that opening, we participated in more than 20 buildings, buying, selling, trading, developing, bringing services for other companies. At that beginning of the time, we saw that there was a unique piece of land with 71 hectares that was there. It was developed by Alberto Horto Armando, who was the president of Boca Juniors, who wanted to do kind of an island to make a Ciudad Deportiva de la Boca. And we bought it almost 3 decades ago, and it took us almost 3 decades to get all the approvals of the streets and the entrance and the lines. And so it was a very long process, but I think for us that we developed over the last 30 years more than 800,000 meters in Buenos Aires. For us to have a project that could pass the 900, it's the biggest by far. The advantage of this project is that it's the only property in front of the river. It has less than 25 minutes drive to the international airport, Ezeiza. It has a park surrounding it. We are developing a park. We are giving as a gift to the city of Buenos Aires a 37 hectares park, which is going to be one of the nicest places to walk. And we are developing a Rambla, which is a walk parade around the river in a new neighborhood. We are going to be launching this with many developers local, and the interest is very, very high. And I think this development, if we see that Puerto Madero took 3 decades, I think that this one, which is the same size, will take half the time because of the good news in the economy.
So you're here today, you're celebrating 30 years of listing on the New York Stock Exchange, ringing the closing bell. Yeah. So where do you think IRSA will be in the next 30 years? I
remember that day because at that day, the day of the opening, I thought IRSA was going to be flying up, and it was the day Mexico was starting the tequila crisis in '94. When I think of IRSA in the last 3 decades, I never dreamed that we were going to have so much impact in developments that we did all over different cities, because we did not only Buenos Aires, we did Cordoba, we did Rosario, we did Salta. I think that we first concentrated in housing, then there was no more credit, then we did shopping, then we did hotels, and now we come back to housing. I would guess that we had also a very interesting chapter of going out of Argentina, but I would say that this decade, I would say, is fully Argentina. I think that Argentina growth potential is enormous for this decade to happen. But I think the company is in a very strong position. We deleveraged the company from almost $800 million to less than 200, and we did the leverage very strong. And we are now in a period of big acquisitions, and we think that with this new government, it's probable that many big pieces of property will be in auction in the market. And we have the biggest strength as a double listing company and the stronger in Argentina on a period where property is the best way to save. I always say that in a period where all the governments are printing money, starting from the leading countries, the more they print, what we learn is that comes from inflation. The more you print, inflation comes, sooner or later. And the best defense to inflation is to have real assets. And in our way to analyze and experience in inflation economy for the last 5 decades, is the best protection with property and farms.
Well, Eduardo, it's been wonderful to have you on Floor Talk. It's wonderful to have you as part of the NYSE community.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for this. Be well.